Shalom, shalom, brothers and sisters. I have a very important, I have a very important video to bring to you, and it is about the origins, the true origins of Christmas, and why anyone who says that they are a follower in God, Christ, Jesus, why they should not be in it. It's time to wake up, church. Time to wake up. The great wake up started in 2008. Now's the time to wake up. I'm going to pull this information from The Real Truth. It's called A Magazine, Restoring Plain Understanding. This is by David C. Pack, and I think he did a great job. I like the fact that he used the Catholic Church a lot in here, because, you know, these origins are from sun worship. And sun worship is in the Catholic Church and has trickled down into all Christianity. Let's face it, it has. So let's get into this. Shalom, shalom. Bear with me, my voice is in and out, and I'm trying really hard. So every year we have this wonderful celebration of December 25th, where we decorate our houses. We pull in a dead tree from the forest, and we bring it in to our house, and we decorate it with silver and gold and lights, and we put even a star on top, sometimes an angel, most people a star, right? And we decorate the bottom with gifts. Has anyone thought why? Listen, why do people do this? So nearly all aspects of Christmas observance have their roots in the Roman custom and religion. Consider the following admission from a large American newspaper, the Buffalo News, in November 22nd in 1984. The earliest reference to Christmas being marked on December 25th comes from the 2nd century after Jesus, Yahushua's birth. It is considered likely that the first Christmas celebrations were in reaction to the Roman Saturnalia, a harvest festival that marked the winter solstice, the return of the sun, S-U-N, and honored Saturn, the god of sowing. Saturnalia was a rowdy time, much opposed by the more austere leaders among the still minority Christian sect. Christmas developed, one scholar says, as a means of replacing worship of the sun, S-U-N, to worship of the sun, S-O-N. By 529 AD, after Christianity had become the official state religion of the Roman Empire, Emperor Justinian made Christmas a civic holiday. The celebration of Christmas reached its peak, some would say its worst moments, in the medieval period, when it became a time for conspicuous consumption and unequaled revelry. So consider these quotes from the Catholic Encyclopedia. Now, hold on a minute. Let me get this down. In 1911 edition under Christmas, Christmas was not among the earliest festivals of the church. The first evidence of the first is in Mitzrayim, is in Egypt. Further, pagan customs centering around the January calends gravitated to Christmas under Natal Day, N-A-T-A-L Day. The origin, as an early Catholic writer admitted. In the scriptures, no one is recorded to have kept a feast or held a great banquet on his birthday. It is only sinners like Pharaoh and Herod who made great rejoicing over the day in which they were born into the world. Emphasis, only they were born into the world. That's why. That's the only reason why they celebrated. Because they celebrated it for themselves. Key word here. I'm still looking into this, and someone could help me. 119 Ministries does a great job on birthdays, and can we celebrate them? Can we not? They do a great job. I implore you. So, all esteem to Yahweh through Yahushua, his son. The Encyclopedia Americana in the 1956 edition adds Christmas was not observed in the first centuries of the Christian church, since the Christian usage in general was to celebrate the death of a remarkable persons, rather than their birth. A feast was established in memory of this event, Christ's birth, in the 4th century. And in the 5th century, the Western Church ordered the feast to be celebrated forever on the day of the Mithric rites of the birth of the Sun, S-U-N. And at the close of Saturnalia, as no certain knowledge of the day of Christ's birth actually existed. So, not till recently. There is no mistaking the origin of the modern Christmas celebration. Many additional sources will be cited. It was 300 years after Yahusha, Christ's birth, before the Roman Church kept Christmas, and not until the 5th century that it was mandated to be kept throughout the empire as an official festival honoring Christ. So let's look at the Emperor Constantine. He wanted to put Mithra. He wanted to put his pagan belief in with the Jewish belief, or the Messianic Jewish belief, right? So the belief in Yahusha, or Christ, while keeping the Torah, but he wanted to keep it all together. He wanted to put it together. Problem is you can't mix pagan with our Creator. He is so against it. And just for the record, anything that's pagan, considered to Yahweh, our Creator, or otherwise known as God, is anything that is opposite written in Genesis, Exodus, Leviticus, Numbers, and Deuteronomy. If it's written opposite of the Torah, it is considered pagan and should not be kept. But he was very specific in the Torah of these certain gods that they were worshiping, of stone and of wood, and feeding their children to the fire and then eating their flesh. This happened a lot, and this is where Christmas and Easter and Valentine's Day comes into play, and Halloween. These are high holy days of satanic rituals, as you will see as we go on. Can Yahusha, can Christ, can Messiah be honored in Christmas? The most common justification that one will hear regarding Christmas is that people have replaced this old pagan origin and custom and put our Messiah on it. So we can do it because we now put Jesus on it, and we mix it together. Put a big old Jesus sign on your Christmas tree, and that's okay. Did you know that bowing down to the Christmas tree is part of those pagan rituals? Did you know that they would once take the severed heads of infants? This is not for children, by the way. They would take the severed heads of these infants and they would hang them from the tree. This is where we get Christmas decoration, the balls that we put on our tree. This is a fertility rite. And they would kill children. They would literally, deliberately have them. The caves of Tammuz is still there in Israel. If you were to say Easter, they would point you to the Tammuz caves where these horrific events happened. In Christmas, of course. So, the problem is that Elohim does not say it is acceptable to him at all. In fact, he plainly commands against this. Keeping Christmas, or even Easter, or Halloween especially, and Valentine's Day, it dishonors him. You cannot serve two tables. Do not be the believer that serves two tables. Do not be the Church of Laodicea. The hot, you're either hot or you're cold. No, this Laodicea in Revelations was considered a lukewarm church. They were neither hot nor cold, and he wishes that they would decide. He can't stand it that they actually partake in this table of Satan in the world, and then they take him. He can't stand it. He can't stand it, brothers and sisters. Yahusha said, our Messiah said, you know him as Christ, but in vain they do worship. In vain they do worship me, teaching for doctrines the commandments of men, in Matthew 15:9. Christmas is not a command of Elohim. It's not a command of God. It is a tradition of men. So Yahusha continues, full well you reject the commandment of Elohim, that you may keep your own tradition, in Mark 7:9. Just so you know, I don't like saying Lord, because in Hebrew it means Baal, Baal. And that is a god that we don't worship. So saying Lord is, and then it's just a title, right? Like, what Lord? It's just something to think about. Looking into the Hebrew words is very, very a good thing. It's a very good place to start. And it's not hard. You can use your phone, just look up certain words, look up the Aleph Bet, and look up those words and the meanings behind them. It is absolutely amazing. Okay? So, full well you reject the commandment of Elohim, that you may keep your own tradition, Mark 7:9. Every year throughout the world on December 25th, hundreds of millions of people do just that. We will see that Elohim plainly commands, follow not the way of the heathen, but most people do not fear Elohim, God. And he allows them to make their own decisions. And trust me, he will hand you over to the desire of your hearts. And brothers and sisters, we are in a time right now where you don't even want to mess with a false desire of your heart. Please open your ears and open your eyes, and I pray that the Ruach HaKodesh give you wisdom and knowledge. So, was Yahusha born on December 25th? Was Christ born on December 25th? Christ was born in the fall. Many have mistakenly believed he was born around the beginning of winter, December 25th, and they are wrong. This is a winter solstice myth where everybody puts their pagan gods with our God or with our Messiah. Okay? Notice Adam Clark commentary in volume 5, page 370, New York edition. It was custom among Jews to send out their sheep to the deserts about the Passover, early spring. So note, this is early spring, and bring them home at the commencement of the first rain. The first rain began in early to mid-fall. Continuing with the same quote, during the time they were out, the shepherds watched them night and day. As the first rain began early in the month of March, Esfan, which answers to part of our October and November, begins sometime in October. We find that the sheep were kept in the open country during the whole summer. And as these shepherds have not yet been brought home, their flocks, it is a presumptive argument that October had not yet commenced, and that consequently, our Yahusha was not born on the 25th of December, when no flocks were even out in the fields. Nor could he have been born later than September, as the flocks were still in the field by night. And on this very ground, the nativity in December should be given up. The feeding of the flocks by night in the fields is chronological fact. See the quotations from the Talmudists in Lightfoot. Now, I don't agree with you going and reading Talmud. This is the oral law tradition, this tradition of men. Yahusha spoke very plainly against to the Pharisees and the Sadducees, okay? In his day. The Talmud is still very much with today, and they actually consider that Torah, which is like, they consider it very much part of it. And they don't even, in fact, they don't even open up the Torah. Most of the time, they just open their Talmud. And they teach from the Talmud, making it supreme over the Torah, which is like the written word. Genesis, Exodus, Leviticus, Numbers, and Deuteronomy. Bereshit Devarim. Genesis to Deuteronomy is Yahweh's like word. Yahusha is the Word made flesh. He is the Messiah made flesh. He esteemed it. He upheld it. He never spoke against it. And If they say, well, we are not under the law, correct. The law is not under you. You're not standing on it. It's in you. It was put in you. Now that's by brother Rob Skiba. May he rest in shalom, and he will be brought into the kingdom. He will be there. We will see him, brothers and sisters. He was dedicated brother, dedicated, taken way too soon. Luke 2:8 explains that when Yahushua was born, there were in the same country shepherds abiding in the field, keeping watch over their flock by night. Note that they were abiding, they were living in the field. This never happened in December. Both Ezra 10:9 through 13 and the Song of Solomon's 2:11 show that winter was the rainy season and shepherds could not stay on cold, open fields at night. Numerous encyclopedias plainly state that Yahushua was not born December 25th. The Catholic Encyclopedia, again, which I love this guy because he uses the Catholic Encyclopedia because they are actually speaking against the very holiday that they esteem. So check this out. The Catholic Encyclopedia directly confirms this. In all likelihood, Yahushua was born in the fall. Many Christian pastors, many of them, will sit there and admit to you that this is a very pagan holiday. He was not born December 25th, but we keep it anyways. It's okay. We take the pagan and we put Yahusha on it and we do a dance. It's like, it's vomit. It's vomit. It's vile. It stinks. And Yahweh, our creator, the God of Abraham, Isaac, Isaac, and Jacob, will definitely pay back. Will definitely judge all of those who are serving two tables. So listen very carefully. This is a very stark message to you, brothers and sisters. He's trying to wake you up. Are you going to hear it? Are you going to see it? Or are you going to just, I don't want to upset my kids, and I don't want to upset my family members, because this is the time we get together. Listen, I have children, and I have family members. My dad's a pastor, was a pastor. That's all I'm going to say. Right there. And we have come out of this. We have come out of religion completely. It's not of him. All religion. Nope. Get rid of it. He is a very little way. And it's in the Torah. Literally. Genesis, Exodus, Leviticus, Numbers, and Deuteronomy. That is his Torah. You will find what he wants in there. The will of God. You hear about it all the time. What's the will of God? Yahusha, they say, well, to love, God and to love your neighbor. Well, that's where the 10 commands come in. The first 5 commands is how to love God, how to love Yahuwah. And the second 5 is how to love your neighbor. It's beautifully put, and it sums up loving God and loving your neighbor. That's what he meant. That's what he said. It's beautiful. So since we know that December 25th was nowhere near Yahusha's actual birth date, where did the festival associate with the date, and where did the date come from? It's my family laughing. Now read this quote under Christmas in the Roman world. The Saturnalia, December 17th, was a time of merrymaking and exchanging of gifts. December 25th was also regarded as the birth date of the Iranian mystery god Mithra, the son of righteousness, S-U-N. On the Roman New Year, January 1st, Roman New Year, the New Year of Alhim, the New Year of God, brothers and sisters, is in March. Come on now. Near the Feast of Trumpets. That's, March. So, the Sun of Righteousness. On the Roman New Year, January 1st, houses were decorated with greenery and lights, and gifts were given to children and the poor. To these observances were added the German and Celtic Yule rites, when the Teutonic tribes penetrated into Gaul, Britain, and Central Europe. Food and good fellowship, the Yule log and Yule cakes, greenery and fir trees, gifts and greetings, all commemorated different aspects of this festival season. Fires and lights, symbols of warmth and lasting life, have always been associated with the winter festival, both pagan and Christian. This is found in the Encyclopedia Britannica, 15th edition, volume 2, page 903. A final quote about the selection of December 25th as the birth date of Yahusha is necessary. Note an article in the Toronto Star, December 1984, by Alan Edmonds, entitled, "We Owe a Lot to the Druids, Dutch. The Reformation cast a blight on Christmas." By then, of course, clever ecclesiastical politicians had adopted the pagan midwinter festival as the alleged birth date of Jesus of Nazareth and thrown in a few other pagan goodies to make their own takeover more palatable. That means make it taste better. December 25th was not selected because it was the birth of Yahusha. It was selected because it was the festival of Saturnalia. And Santa Claus. Parents' reason that they owe the whole Christmas myth to their children is because, well, it's Santa and it's gift giving and it's amazing, so it's okay. The name Santa has Satan in it. Write it down. Write it down. Put Santa on a paper and scramble up those words. Remember that game? The unscramble? Satan. That's what it is. Satan has to put his truth out there somehow. And it's usually in wording. Remember that. So, Christmas traditions are focused primarily on kids, and they are certainly the center of most of what happens. I know because I have kept Christmas all of my life, and it was like my most favorite season, and I always put Jesus on it. Okay, until a practicing witch was like, "Why are you using my holiday for your Christ? It has nothing to do with it." And I was like, "Oh, how dare you?" But she was right. Some years ago, a priest in New Jersey told his Sunday school class that Santa was a myth. The outrage from these parents and his supervisors was so swift. He had killed Santa, they said, and they destroyed family tradition. He had usurped family authority. The article continued, he was officially censored by the superiors of being overzealous and insensitive. I mean, I get it all the time. You're so overzealous, Tammy. His crime? He told the truth. According to the Langer's Encyclopedia of World History, article on Santa, Santa was a common name for Nimrod throughout Asia Minor. This was also the same fire god who came down the chimneys of the ancient pagans, and the same fire god to whom infants were burned and eaten in human sacrifice among those who were once Elohim's people. Today, Santa Claus comes from St. Nicholas, and Washington Irving in 1809 is responsible for remaking the original Old Stern bishop of the same name into the new Jolly St. Nick. In his Knickerbocker History of New York, most of the rest of America's Christmas traditions are even more recent than this, but Old Nick has long been recognized as the term for the devil. Just look it up. In Revelations 2:6 and 15, we read about a doctrine of the Nicolaitans, which Christ twice tells his church he hates. Let me emphasize that. Hates. Let's analyze the word Nicolaitan. He means follower of Nicholas. Nikos means conqueror, destroyer. Laos means people. Nicolaitans then are people who follow the conqueror or destroyer Nimrod. If you have believed that following Christmas is an innocent Christian custom, let that truth sink in. Let it sink in, guys. How about exchanging gifts? So, the Bibliotheca Sacra states, the interchange of presents between friends is like a characteristic of Christmas and Saturnalia, and must have been adopted by Christians from the pagans, as the admonition of Tertullian plainly shows in volume 12, pages 153 through 155. Like every other aspect of Christmas, the shocking truth is even this supposed Christian custom does not come from the Bible. It is an irony that people love to believe they are following the customs of a wise men giving Yahusha, Christ, when they actually are giving almost exclusively to each other. And when these wise men gave these, frankincense, gold, and myrrh, it was custom to give kings these gifts. And that's exactly who they saw him as, the king of the Hebrews, or king of the Jews. Let's briefly return to wise men who give gifts to Yahusha. The scriptures describing in Matthew 2, 1 through 11, now when Yahusha was born in Bethlehem of Judea, in the days of Herod the king, behold, there came wise men from the east, from Jerusalem, saying, where is he that is born king of the Jews? And when they were come into the house, they saw this young child with Miriam, or Mary, as you know her, his mother, and fell down and worshipped him. And when they had opened their treasures, they presented to him gifts of gold, frankincense, and myrrh. And this is common to give. So, Christmas trees. No article about Christmas is complete without some explanation of the Christmas tree. We have touched on it without directly focusing on it. The modern Christmas tree originated in Germany, but the Germans got it from the Romans, who got it from the Babylonians and from Mitzrayim, Egypt. The following demonstrates what Babylonians believed about the origin of the Christmas tree. An old Babylonish fable told of an evergreen tree which sprang up out of the dead tree stump. The old stump symbolized the dead Nimrod from the book of Genesis. The new evergreen tree symbolized that Nimrod had come to life again in Tammuz, his son. Among the Druids, the oak was sacred. Among the Egyptians, it was the palm. And in Rome, it was the fir, which was decorated with red berries during the Saturnalia. So, Jeremiah 10, 2 through 5, thus says Yahweh, learn not the ways of the heathen, for the customs of the people are vain. For one cuts a tree out of the forest, they work on it with their hands and with an axe. They deck it with silver and gold, they fasten it with nails and with a hammer that it may not move. They are upright as a palm tree, but speak not. They must needs be born, because they cannot go. Be not afraid of them, for they cannot do evil, neither also is it in them to do good. This plain description of the modern Christmas tree is clear. Yahweh, God, Elohim, directly refers to it as the way of the heathen. Just as directly, he commands his people to learn not the way of the heathen, calling these customs vain, verse 23, as a remarkable and powerful statement. O Adonai, O Lord, I know that the way of man is not in himself. It is not in a man that walks to direct his own steps. Elohim must teach people how to live. Man simply cannot figure out Elohim's way for himself. His ways are higher than ours. His thoughts are higher than ours. That's Isaiah. And for his people die for a lack of knowledge. His people die for a lack of knowledge. I believe that's Hosea chapter 6. It's in Hosea. The source of the holly wreath, Yule logs, and mistletoe. This is paganism. Frederick Haskins further states the use of Christmas wreaths is believed by authorities to be traceable to the pagan customs of decorating buildings and places of worship at the feast which took place at the same time as Christmas. The Encyclopedia Britannica under Celestials exposes the origin of the holly wreath. European pagans brought holly sprays into their homes, offering them to the fairy people of the forest as refuge from the harsh winter weather. During Saturnalia, the Roman winter festival, branches of holly were exchanged for tokens of friendship. The earliest Roman Christians apparently used holly as a decorating as a Christmas season because it's a fertility rite. There are dozens of different types of holly. Every one of them is male or female, but they all need a male for the female to produce its holly, thus making it fully, fertility. So Christmas isn't complete to many unless it involves kissing under the mistletoe. This pagan custom was natural on a night that involved much revelry, done in the spirit of drunken orgies. Just like today, this kissing usually occurred at the beginning of any modern Saturnalia or Christmas celebration. I will never forget having to always have to kiss whoever was standing under the Christmas tree or under the mistletoe. And mistletoe was actually considered to have special powers of healing for those who revealed under it. So the Encyclopedia Britannica under Centellus states, the European mistletoe is thought to have had special ritual significance in Druidical, or the Druids' ceremonies, and live in folklore today. Its special status as the Christmas mistletoe having come from Anglo-Saxon times, mistletoe is a parasite that lives on an oak tree. Recall that the Druids worshipped in the oak groves. The ancient Celtics, associated with the Druids, used to give mistletoe as an herbal remedy for barren animals to make them fertile. It is referred to as the all-healer in the Celtic world. Like mistletoe, holly berries were also thought to be sacred to the sun god, S-U-N. The original sun log came to be called the Yule log. Yule simply means wheel, which has long been a pagan representation of the sun. No wonder people today commonly speak of the sacred Yuletide season. Human beings do not want to obey Elohim, Romans 8:7. They would rather follow their own imagination, their vain imagination. They do not understand that Elohim wants their lives to go well. Elohim inspired Moses to warn the people in Deuteronomy 6:1, 6, 7, and 20 through 21 and 25. These are the commandments found in Deuteronomy 5. So this is the Shema, the hear and obey, which Yahweh your Elohim has commanded you to teach you. So you are to have them on your heart, on your mind, and on your soul all day long, every single day. Teach them to your children. When you wake up, when you go about, when you go to sleep, when you wake up again. He wants you to be completely and fully in Him, constantly, right? Remember, brothers and sisters, the flesh wages war against the Ruach, the spirit of Elohim. So, Elohim took Israel out of Egypt, out of customs of the world around them, and revealed His law to them. He does not want His people going back to the traditional customs and ways from which He has called them out. When all of this interconnected traditions filled with the symbolism of worshiping an ancient pagan, humanly devised God are taught, this is not worshiping the true Creator. This is worshiping a different God. This is worshiping many other different gods, like paganized throughout the entire lifespan of people, and simply like orally brought down to, their children and their children's children's children. 58:1 of Isaiah. The prophet Isaiah was inspired to write, "Cry aloud, spare not. Lift up your voice like a trumpet and show my people their transgression." This man here that wrote this article has done this, and I am doing this. We are to stand on the truth of Elohim, of God, and His Son. Bottom line, Leviticus 23 is His holy feast days. Those are good to keep, and He tells you how to keep them, and they're very simple. Brother Adam from Parable of the Vineyard, you can find him Parable of the Vineyard on YouTube. He has many, 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 many videos of how to come out of Babylon, what we need to do, how we truly need to serve the God of Israel, the Elohim of Yeshayahu. You are Israelites. You are not to ever be considered a Gentile, Because once you believe in the Son of Elohim, Yahusha HaMashiach, or Jesus, as you may know him, like I started out always saying Jesus or saying God, we all start somewhere. He wants you to seek first the kingdom of him, and then all else will be added unto you. We need to remember that we are coming out of paganism and we are waking up, brothers and sisters, and we must wake up. You know, his call to repentance is truly beautiful. And repentance, if you look it up, actually means a mind change, to truly change. Many people have walked away from me because I am not the same Tammy. I am not. And I am now a different person, inside and out. I was once her, a sinner, lost, and following in this Christianity that was handed to me, but it wasn't deeply real. I didn't seek him myself. I didn't get the personal relationship like the 5 wise virgins did in Matthew. And there were 5 unwise who did not receive the extra oil. They didn't get it. They didn't care. And then our Messiah opens the door and they're like, let me in. We finally got the oil. And he's like, I don't even know you. Go away, you sinner, you lawbreaker. That's what he says. I don't even know you, you worker of lawlessness. Revelations 14 tells us that we have to keep the commands of God. We have to keep the commands of Elohim. All of Matthew is Yahusha, our Messiah, Jesus, giving the commands on the Sermon of the Mount. And boy, did he made it even like not harder to keep. Through the Spirit, through the Ruach HaKodesh, we can do this. I don't wake up and say, oh gosh, I can't murder today. This is going to be so hard. I actually wake up happy. I thank him for my life. Is it hard every day? Yes, it's hard living in the world because there's not many that are on the narrow path. I'll admit that. It's draining to see the wicked all around me. And so many people that say they follow. And a lot of people even say that they know the truth and they don't even follow it. They follow him with vain words where their hearts are so far from him. It grieves me. When he says, keep my commandments, he meant it. His people hear his voice and they turn from their evil way and they following him. Brothers and sisters, now's the time. Now's the time to start keeping Sabbath day. It's the 4th command. Count 6 days and rest on the 7th. That's Friday night to Saturday night. And what does that mean? Prepare your food on Friday, and when the first star comes out, you rest. Sabbath, we are not made for Sabbath. Sabbath was made for us from the very foundation. Our Creator, Yahweh, God, rested on the 7th day. It was implemented on the heavenly tables, since the beginning, and is a sign and a mark for his people. So it's interesting because Revelation talks about the mark of the lawless one, right? Which is in your mind and in your hand, because your right hand is your deed. You're doing the deed for the lawless one who is in your mind, the lawbreaker of Elohim. Sound familiar? How many Christians are out there saying we don't have to keep the commands? Our Messiah died for that. All we have to do is love our neighbor and love God. How do you love God? Did you know if you're still sinning constantly over and over and over and you haven't truly repented, which is a mind change, which is denying your flesh and taking up your tree, your cross, and following after our Messiah, did you know that Elohim doesn't even hear your prayer? I believe it's Psalms 23. How you really truly repent. I mean, fall to your knees and rip open your heart and cry out to him, a broken and contrite heart, repenting your sins and the past sins of your forefathers. It has been prophesied that we will do that and we will loathe ourselves. It's in Ezekiel. And brothers and sisters, he loves you. And if this is reaching into your heart, then he wants you to hearken to him now. Now's a better time than ever. While we still have time. And we see these things coming to fruition, and boy, are they. Woo. May Yahweh bless you and keep you. May his countenance rise above you, his face shine upon you, and give you shalom. I love you. And may you go into shalom in peace. I am always here at ttittle29@gmail.com. So ttittle29@gmail.com. I love you so much. Shalom, shalom.